they've put a new, what's it called, a new rule in place now where you do a live stream and then they delete it after a month. So you got 30 days and then they'll tell you they're going to delete it. And then you can either download it, which I'm not going to be able to download every single live stream I've done over the last, I don't know how many years, but apparently they're going to go back and they're going to keep giving you the option to either delete or download. Well, no, you don't even get the option. They're either going to delete it or you can download it. So I'm just checking out, or I'm just considering whether I'm going to do live streams on my Facebook page every Monday, because they're only going to be there for a month, or whether I should just do recorded videos and post there. But here, until they change the rules here, I'm going to be going live here every Monday, and then sometimes I'll go live on my Instagram as well. So I'll leave in the comments where you can find me on social media. But this live stream today is based on a book that I've mentioned before. If you go to my YouTube channel on here, you'll see that I've done quite a few videos about this book. I've done a video called Separation of Tasks. I've done a video called, did I review the book? I probably did it in 2023 when I did book reviews every week. And I've also done a video about it, just looking at key concepts. And that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to look at some concepts taken from the book, The Courage to be Disliked. So this book is a book based on Adlerian psychology. And all you need to know about that is that it's based on a famous psychologist and just his thoughts about human behaviour and about how people interact. And it also links in with whether people make choices for themselves, what is stopping people from making choices. It's a really interesting book. You can get the free audio book if you go on YouTube, just type in The Courage to be Disliked. You can buy the paper copy. And I've narrowed it down because it's one of those books where there's so many things in there. I've just narrowed it down to four or five different concepts, which I think will be interesting. So anyone joining on the live stream, feel free to leave your comments. If you're not able to watch this live, then when it gets, you can watch the recorded version and then you can leave your comments there. So the book, as I said, is about just taking, basically the courage to be disliked is really about people taking courage to take action in situations instead of kind of feeling like they're stuck, and instead of feeling like there's something holding them back from making these decisions. Thanks for joining, whoever's joined. So the first concept is called the life lie. So this is when something is going wrong in your life. This is when people decide to blame their environment, the past, or someone else, and shift the responsibility from themselves about making changes. This is where people are staying stuck, because it's saying that to make the changes in your life, you need to have the courage to do that. But what people do is, because they lack the courage to make that change, they'll say, well, I can't change because of this. I can't change because of, the past is keeping me held back, keeping me stuck. I don't have money to do this. I can't do this because of the children. So what Adlerian psychology is saying is that it's none of those things that are actually keeping you stuck. You're keeping stuck because you don't have the courage. You don't feel you are either good enough to make those changes. You don't feel like those changes would work. You feel like you'd fail at that. It's all coming from you. But instead of saying it's coming from you, what you're doing is you're saying it's coming from other factors that are stopping you. So that's why it's called the life lie, because he says people who use this reason or excuse for not making changes, it's because they don't have the courage within them. So he says the key solution to that would be to find the courage. Thanks, Games with Ali. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks for the comments. He says, so he's not kind of criticizing people. This is the thing with psychologists and with sociologists and with psychiatrists. They try to understand how people work, how people's minds work, how individuals work, and then they produce the information. So he's not saying people are weak or that there's something wrong with people. It's not a judgment. He's saying that this is a life lie that lots of people walk around saying to themselves. Now, a good example of this is recently when I was on Facebook, there was a woman and she said that she's been in a relationship. They were talking, there's all these, you know, when you get these discussions about men are narcissists and you get, all sorts of things that were on there. Well, anyway, there was this woman had put something like, why don't men listen? And she'd done this whole post about, oh, every time I tell my partner this and that, he doesn't listen. So this woman was in the comments saying she's been with her partner for 30 years and he doesn't listen to her. And I just thought, usually I'll stay away. Usually I'll stay away from, excuse me, usually I stay away from this stuff. I think I'll just read the comments. But I thought this is so interesting, and because I'd been listening to the book as well, I was thinking, okay, what's going on here? So I put in the comments, I said to the woman, 30 years seems like a long time. And I says, I'm just wondering, what if you had to guess, what would be your reason? I didn't say if you had to guess, I'd say what would be the reason that you feel that you can't walk away from this relationship if you're saying that like the person doesn't listen. And then she just said, easier said than done, it's not easy and stuff. And then everyone in the comments was just talking about this idea of why do we ask people to leave? Why don't we ask people why the person isn't listening and all this sort of stuff? And it just turns into a big thing. But the point of that is, this woman is probably part of this whole life lie where she's telling herself that she can't leave this relationship. It's not domestic, it's not a violent relationship because there's different constraints with that. It's not a violent relationship. She's just saying for 30 years, if you've been with someone for 30 years and they haven't listened and they've kind of repeated, that's what you need them to do, then it's unlikely that they're going to start listening, and it's unlikely that that relationship dynamic is going to change. So therefore, the only thing you're in control of is what you do. So when you tell yourself the life lie, you put it on other people. You say, well, I can't succeed because my boss won't allow me to. It's if you go on any social media platform, or if you speak to most people in the world, to be fair, they're going to have a reason for why they're stuck where they are or they can't do something. It's going to be society's fault. It's going to be financial reasons. But the thing is, when you say that to yourself as well, you're disempowering yourself as a person, because you're basically saying until those factors change, you're not going to achieve anything. And then those factors might never change. So this psychologist is actually trying to help you as a person to say, well, it comes from within you. It starts with you. So you just have to be brave. You have to be courageous. You have to take some chances and some risks, and you can actually achieve a lot of things, and you can actually become unstuck. But it starts with taking responsibility for your own life. So the second concept is change yourself instead of waiting for the situation to change. So it's similar, but it's a bit different. So it says that the first thing you have to identify is what is really getting in the way of you changing. Lots of people are just stuck in this cycle of like nothing changes in their life, but then they're waiting for something to come and save them, or they're waiting for a situation to change. And sometimes, you know what, Jim Rohn, the famous, he's a motivational speaker, he said for things to change, you have to change. And he's one of my favourite psychologists, my favourite motivational speakers, because he just goes in, he just tells it, you know, I mean, he's not alive anymore, but he talks as though, like when I listen to what he says, it kind of even inspires me and it motivates me. But what he's basically saying is, you have the ability, you have the capacity as a human being to change anything you want in your life. He's not saying, you know, being ridiculous and saying you can do anything in life, because you can't do absolutely anything. But he's saying with all the knowledge, with all the information, with all the facts, that the brain that we possess, with everything else that we have at our disposal, there are lots of things we can do, but yeah. Oh, thanks. Hi, Amelia and Francis. So first you have to say what is getting in the way, what is stopping you. And I think, do you know what I think as well? I'm going to be honest. I think people can also prevent you from making changes in your life. Because if certain people are, you're saying, I can't do it, I can't do this, you know, I can't leave that relationship, I can't leave that job, I can't move abroad, I can't do this. And there's loads of people echoing that, and they're saying, yeah, it's too dangerous. Oh yeah, don't do that. Yeah, that's not good for you. They're not actually helping you. You might think at the time that they're colluding with you, and that feels good because everyone else is nodding along. It's like misery loves company. Have you heard that saying? If you go to certain people and you tell them your goals and your dreams and your big plans, and they're trying to talk you out of it, they're not actually helping you. Thanks for subscribing, Amelia and Francis. So what you have to think about is, why are you waiting for the situation to change? How likely is it that that situation will change at all? And then the final part is to be courageous, because you need courage to take control of your life. And that's what the whole book is. The courage to be disliked is not about just being disliked. It's too complicated to try and break it down in one video. But the book is really about like having the courage to take these risks. It's about being honest with yourself. The biggest thing I took from the book is that, like, being honest, not telling lies to yourself, not allowing things to hold you back, but to be honest with how powerful you really are. So the third, this is a really complicated one, so I've just had to try and break it down in a way that even I can understand. And this is about how we determine value and worth in society, and how that then impacts on whether people feel superior, inferior, and whether people feel worthless or valued. So I'm going to give an example from the book. So he said that the person in the book was a short man, and he was surrounded by tall people, tall men. So he said that when he's on his own, so anytime we're on our own, no matter who we are as people, we probably don't sit there and go, oh, I'm unattractive, or I'm too short, or I'm too this, or I'm too dark. We wouldn't do it, because why would we be saying that? There'd be nothing to refer that to. You'd be completely happy in your own skin and who you are. It's only when we then interact with other people and how they respond to who we are, that's when things get a bit messy. Because that's what, say if someone, that short person, like in the book, someone said, oh, it's such a shame for you, you're so short, and oh, I feel really sorry for you, oh, I wouldn't want to be that short, and oh, it must be really difficult for you getting like on top of things, and oh, short people don't get far in society, and all that stuff. So if all of these projections are put onto this person, they absorb that, then they're going to feel less than, they're going to feel inferior, because so many people are telling them that they are, and they're absorbing it. Because they wasn't thinking any of that stuff. They didn't think of being short, a short person was a disadvantage, because there was nothing to measure it to. And it can go the other way as well. If lots of people are talking to someone and they're treating that person with respect for who they are, and they're not saying any negatives about, oh, you're a person of a different culture, or you're a person who is short, or you're whatever, and they're getting the respect everywhere they go, they're not going to feel less than. So what the book is trying to say really is, don't allow other people to determine your worth. If you feel good about yourself, then it doesn't matter what anyone else feels about you, or when you're around other people, because it's all relative anyway. A short person or a tall person, a black person or a white person, what they're trying to say is that who can decide what value someone has? Who can say that, oh, this person is more premium because, you know, and it does actually in society, to be fair. Adverts will keep telling you that. Social media might tell you that. And that's why, like, you have to just be confident enough within yourself, because you can't allow other people to determine your worth. So he gave an example of, he said that if you were in a situation where there was no shops and nothing to buy, so nothing you could buy with money, and you were completely isolated and you were cold, but you had stacks and stacks of money, he said you would burn the money to warm up. He said you would use, because that's what that money would be worth. At that time, that money's worth would be paper for fire to keep you warm. because you're not going to be able to buy anything with it. There's no shops. You're not going to be able to buy anything because there's no one to buy from. You're completely on your own. And if your choice was to either die from hypothermia or to burn all your money so that you have fire, you'd burn the money. And that's what he's trying to say. Like, the value of money at that time would be fire paper. Whereas if you're in a society where there's loads of temptation and there's loads of shops, and that's the same as if you live in certain communities and if you live in certain parts of the world, your value, then you're going to think, if I live in Silicon Valley in California, I need to have this big house, I need to drive this big car, I need to shop at these places, I need to wear designer outfits. You don't even think that yourself. But because the people around you and that communities kind of influence you to feel that way, then that's what you do. So, hi Colin. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Colin. If they say it in a positive way, won't it have the same effect as it's been noticed? Well, I get what you're saying, but no, because if you think about it, if a child is, so I'll give you a good example, because I've got lots of people in my family of well, I won't use my family. I'll say, if a child is told they are clever, and they are beautiful, and they are, they're beautiful the way they are, and they have nice hair or nice eyes or nice, and they're just given compliments as a general thing by their parents. They're not told, if you get an A in maths, that makes you a good child. They're just told for all of their qualities that they own and how unique they are. They're just told constantly that those qualities are, they're made to feel that those qualities are appreciated and valued. Then I think, they would feel appreciated and valued, but it can go the other way, because if someone then looks at someone's quality or feature or something about that person, and they make it seem less valuable, or they make it let the person feel inferior, what he's trying to say in the book really is that that's because someone else has told you that thing is inferior. Because if you think about the majority of people who lack confidence or don't feel good about themselves, where has that come from? There's been an origin where it's come from. Maybe when they were younger, someone said to them, oh, your lips are a bit too big. Or maybe when they were a certain age, someone said to them, you talk too much. Or maybe when they were in a relationship, someone kept saying, oh, you need to lose weight. It's come from somewhere, because before that point, they probably wasn't thinking that. You don't just wake up one day and start to hate something about yourself. It's just, where's it going to come from? So I think, so what I'd say, Amelia, is that if you're given compliments or you're praised, about something that you feel good, I do think it just makes you feel good about yourself. But you shouldn't, it's not saying you need validation. You don't need someone every day to tell you those things. But me personally, as someone who's worked with children as a social worker, I've worked with children as a counsellor, and I've got lots of children within my family, my nieces, nephews, everyone. I do give them lots of compliments. I do say nice things about them. Oh, you're really clever. You look good. Your hair looks nice. And it's not fake. It's intentional, because I just think children do absorb that. And as you get older, you do absorb those natural compliments. So the next concept is that he says every problem we have in our life is due to our interpersonal relationships with other people. So some people might disagree with this one. They might say every problem that we have is to do with money. Every problem that you have is to do with, I don't know, you might say anything, but he said it's to do when you come up against someone who you're in a confrontation with, and it doesn't have to be face-to-face, proper Mortal Kombat confrontation. It could be any type of confrontation. That person is challenging you to a power struggle. So what that person is doing is they're saying, I'm powerful, I'm more powerful than you, I'm better than you, I'm going to get something out of you. They want a reaction. So what he says is that you shouldn't ever react in that situation, because when you react, it's because you You were waiting for that person to do something so you could react, and secretly deep down you had a dislike or a hate for that person, so you were just waiting for your chance. So the example that he gives is that a person is in a restaurant and they're having their meal, and the waiter comes over and the waiter accidentally drops some wine or spills something on their jacket. So the person overreacts by getting really angry, getting up and saying, "You're stupid," shouting, calling names, and getting really angry. So the author says that the reason that person got angry and overreacted like that wasn't nothing to do with his jacket. He's an angry person and he was waiting to explode on someone. So the waiter just happened to be someone he exploded on. And then he pretended, because he was too cowardly to say, "I've got anger problems, I'm the problem." He exploded on the waiter, and then he pretended the waiter was the problem for spilling the drink on his jacket. And he says that's what lots of us do. So lots of us have a problem with someone, whether it's a stranger or a person you know, and you keep this secret, hidden dislike for the person. You are either walking around and it's your friend and you really feel jealous of their life, or it's a parent and you really dislike the fact that they keep pushing you to want to get exams or exam grades, or it could be, you know, a neighbour that you just secretly dislike. Whatever it is in this situation, you're harbouring that hatred or dislike. And he says that when the opportunity comes along, you do something and then you pretend it's based on what's going on right there, but it's not. It's because it's that like simmering dislike and resentment is already there, and frustration. And that's why he said lots of people usually get into these confrontations. So he says the goal we should have is to deepen your relationships with others and to confront the reasons why there's an issue there in the first place. So anytime something comes up for you in your mind and there's an issue, confront it at the time. Don't wait until, don't let it like simmer, and don't let it kind of, the resentment stay with you, because that's when you're gonna like, that's when you have people popping off all the time at people for no reason. You know, when you see people road rage, or you see people just completely angry all the time, it's because deep down they're just waiting for their opportunity to punch someone, or they're waiting for their opportunity to shout. They've got pent up rage coming from somewhere and they've not dealt with it. So it's rage that hasn't been worked through. So he said in life, the work relationships, it's easy, it's less difficult to like navigate because it's just work colleagues. So the majority of people can have civil, normal relationships with their work colleagues or their boss. Then family and friends, it's less, it's easier, but still sometimes brings up issues. But in the most part, he said, there's minor issues, but nothing like major. I mean, I disagree with that, because there is major issues. But he said love is the most difficult relationship to navigate. And the reason for this, and I'll talk about it in the next concept more, is because we put conditions on our partner. So because you put a condition on your partner, so you say to your, because it was so deep when I was listening to this, because it's just, and I made a video about it on my TikTok as well. What he's saying is that some of the conditions we put on a partner only create the stress in the relationship. But most people are not brave enough or courageous enough to take those conditions off. So here's a good example. How many people would be okay if their partner went out for lunch with someone of the opposite sex? Majority of people are going to say no. But why do we feel fearful, or why do we need to control if our partner wants to go for dinner with another woman or another man? It comes from, if you trust your partner, and if you realise that people are individuals and they're free to do what they want, that shouldn't cause stress, but it does. And there's other things in there as well, like all the set of rules that we give to our partners and the conditions and the expectations. He said that's causing us stress. Because if we were just to say we're going to date you, but the only condition is, because I disagree with, I don't disagree, I think how I stand with it is that you still need to have expectations of how someone is going to treat you, but not things like, I need this person to tell me that they love me, or I need this person to listen to me, or I need this person, because it's up to them. If someone doesn't want to listen to you, you can't force them to, but you can say, if this person mistreats me, I'm going to do A, B and C. I'm going to leave if this person cheats on me. I'm going to do, but then that still brings it to you. But you can't really say to someone, my condition for us to be in a relationship is that you must give me flowers every Friday. Because this is what he's trying to say. He's saying that when people put that condition on, and then when the person doesn't do it, that's what causes the stress in the relationship. If you didn't have the conditions, there wouldn't be the stress, because what you would do is you would meet someone, you would know what you need, you'd probably have a brief conversation and share with that person what you need from them. Well, not what you need from them, what you need from the relationship. They wouldn't do A, B and C, and then you would leave, or you would say, this is not meeting my needs. Now, most people don't have he's saying most people don't have the courage to do that, because if they did that, they'd be worried that they're going to keep leaving. But the point is, most people are in relationships with people where they're waiting for that person to do something that they've asked them to do, or they're waiting for that person to be someone that they want them to be, and it's not happening. So then they're getting stressed. So this leads on to the final concept. I could talk about this all day, but I just broke it down to a few. And this is the separation of tasks. This is a video that I've already made. So if you want to go onto this channel, and thanks to everyone that's subscribed. Oh, bye, Amelia. Thanks for joining. If you go on this channel, you'll see the video called Separation of Tasks. And it's very powerful chapter in the book. As I've said, you can get this book as an audio book on YouTube. Separation of tasks, it says, all relationship issues are caused by intruding on other people's tasks, whether it's parent and child, whether it's intimate relationships, whether it's friendships, any relationship. He said, let people be responsible for their tasks and let them accept the consequences. So let me talk about that a bit more. If a child has to do their homework, whose responsibility is it to make sure they get their homework done? Most people, I'd say 99% of people would say the parent, but it's not. It's the child's responsibility. It's their homework. Now, if they go into school on Monday and they haven't done their homework, is the school going to phone the teacher and say to the teacher, you're in detention? Or are they going to say to the child, you haven't done your homework, so you're in detention? It would be the child. But because the parent is worried about what the school will think of them as a parent, and because deep down they're going to think they're a bad parent if the child doesn't do the homework, they're intruding on their child's task. They're not allowing the child to do the homework or not do the homework. But what he's saying, and which is true, is if you leave people to do their own tasks and you let them face the consequences if they choose not to, then it's a natural form of natural consequences, it's called. And it's not the same as like if we say to a child, we're not going to teach you to cross the road, you can go, you can do it yourself, and then the child gets run over, then of course that's your responsibility, because that is not a natural consequence. The child isn't old enough to navigate the road by themselves. But the homework that they've been given, the teacher knows they can do it, and it's their task. So if you were to, as a parent, say to a child, there's your homework, it's up to you, you've got to do it, and then if they didn't do it and they went into school and they got in trouble, then that would be a natural consequence. And what he's saying is, you don't allow, if you intrude on people's tasks, you don't allow them to empower themselves, you don't allow them to fix their own problems, you don't allow them to figure things out for yourself. It causes you unnecessary stress, because you're going to be sitting there saying to your child, do your homework, and they're going to ignore you. Do your homework, and then you're going to keep saying it, and they might choose not to do it, and then what are you going to do? Nothing, because you can't really make them do it, but you're going to feel stressed because you're taking on the child's stress. And it's the same as in a relationship. if you're in a relationship with someone and you're constantly saying to them, right, I need you to call me, I need you to call me, oh, I need you not to cheat on me, I need you to do this, I need you to do that, not cheat, and because that's not a task, but I need you to put the shelves up, I need you to do this, I need you to do this, and that person just sits back and says, oh, I'm not doing it. What can you effectively do? You can't do anything because you can't make them. But this is what's interesting about this whole separation of tasks. The person who doesn't do what you're asking them to do is in control in this situation. They have the power. You don't have any power because you're waiting for that person to do something and they're saying, I'm not doing it. What can you do about it? They're not probably saying it in that direct way, but effectively when you ask and they choose not to do it, they're saying they're choosing not to do it. So what he's saying is, the way around this is to question your own motives. Why are you intruding on someone else's task? Why can't you just leave them to do what they're meant to do? There was a Facebook post where, oh my gosh, there was at least 30,000 people on this post. And it was saying, why do men, it's always posted about men or women, and it said, why is it when you ask a man to do a job that he doesn't do it? And then there was a woman in the post saying she does it herself. And then some people were saying, well, if you ask someone and you trust them, why don't you leave them to do the task and they'll get it done in their own time? Other people were saying, well, I don't trust that he's going to do it. I've been asking him to do it for months, so I end up doing all the rest of it. But the point of that is, that's what it comes back to tasks. If you have trust and faith in the other person and you have trust and confidence in yourself, if you ask for something to be done, then it's going to be done. But the point is, if you then intrude on that person's task because you say, leave it, I'll do it. You're rubbish anyway. You never do what you're supposed to do. Then that's your fault. You're creating that stress. So it's saying that don't limit your partner in any way. Just leave them to do what they need to do. Don't limit your children. You've got to put rules and boundaries in for children. That's a bit different. But when it comes to in relationships with this kind of changed my whole outlook on relationships. I probably should have known it. I should have read this book before I was in a few relationships, because it's just do you know what it ties in with? It ties in with attachment styles. Because an anxiously attached person, someone with an anxious attachment style, their main thing is they want control. They want control. They want that person to reassure them all the time. They want that person to phone them. They want to stay on the phone with the person. They've got no chance of a relationship working because it's impossible, because they're wanting so much and everything they get is not enough. So if a person with an anxious attachment style adapted this method of just letting your partner do what they need to do, but if they do something which encroaches on your way of being or on your what you mistreats you in any way, then you take action, but stop asking them to take action. If they don't want to give you a good morning text, then you can't make them do that. But then if you're getting stressed and anxious because you haven't received a good morning text, that's you. You need to say to yourself, I don't need that text message. If they want to send me one, they can, but I don't need it, because that's what's causing you the stress. That's why people are anxious in their relationships, because there's, oh, he doesn't care about me because he hasn't phoned me today. Oh, he's gone off there, I'm worried that he's going to cheat with someone. Oh, she's doing this, I'm worried that she's going to find someone else. Oh, I'm not good enough for her. So it's this constant anxiousness. But if you was to just let all that go and you was to say that, you know, we're both in this relationship together. If they want to walk away, they can. Not in that way, but if they can leave, because no one's holding each other to hostage, I can leave. But what we're going to do is we're just going to be two people who are choosing to come together, but we're not going to put these like conditions on each other, because all it does is causes stress. So think about your reasons. So with this separation of tasks, think about what is it that is making you intrude. This is a good example for me. When I take my nieces and nephews out, I just let them do what they want to a certain degree. I think when I used to take them out, this is why this helped me as well, like reading this, because when I used to take them out, I think I felt I used to be too strict with them. Even when they were younger, I used to be strict because my feeling was I'm the auntie. I felt I was more pressure because I'm not the parent, but I think if something was to happen to them, but I'd also think, oh, I've got to make sure they have a good time. I used to think, I've got to make sure they like me. I've got to make sure I do what my sister would do if she was looking after it. There was too much things, so it was like it was too tense. There was too many rules and boundaries. And then the minute I said, you know what, let's just all have a good time. You know, if they want to be doing silly things, like sometimes they'll put each other on their backs, or sometimes they'll mess around, and sometimes they won't answer the first time I call, or sometimes they'll be rolling down. They do all sorts of things. They're not silly kids. They're quite smart, but they love interaction. They love they're just they're active, not hyperactive. And what I realised is we started to have better days out, because even my nieces and nephews would be like, oh, that was a really good day. I really loved hanging out with you, auntie. And it was just fun. There was no like, oh, a bit too strict. What are you doing this for? Or what are you doing that for? Because we have had some really tense days out where I've literally took them home and said, oh, they were really bad today. Or I've said, I'm not taking them out again. And I just think when you relax around people, and when you just say, it's not your job to control another person. It's not your job to tell them what they should be doing. It's not your job to try to change people's behaviour or try to control situations. Your job is just to be yourself and allow people to be themselves. It just makes a really big difference. It's a small thing, but it makes a difference. So those are the only concepts I'm going to talk about. The audio book is about 3 hours long. It's on YouTube, but you can buy the paperback. I would really recommend it to anyone just to get an understanding of how we think as human beings. It might give you some tips on how you can do things differently, and definitely you can watch the separation of tasks video. If I can find it, because I think I made it maybe a few years ago, I will put it underneath this video, and then that will make it easier for you to watch that. Thanks for joining, everyone. Amelia and Francis, Colin, everyone else that joined on this live stream, I really appreciate it. And I can see there's other people that are joining live, but just leave a comment. I'd really appreciate that. And share this with anyone that you think will find it interesting. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back again next Monday for another live stream. Bye.